can you break down your training program, like before fights, and what your diet plan was and everything? Like, obviously, because diet plays a big thing in, like, especially when you're competing towards a competition.
Yeah. So ordinarily, you're going to know about the fight a good amount of time, obviously, before it happens. It's kind of not the day before or on the day as that happened. That was an exception to the rule.
Yeah.
But yeah, you find out that, okay, there's a competition or there's a show and you're on it. And then, yeah, that's where the training starts sort of straight away then, because everything is geared towards basically getting the lungs full capacity, just so you don't gas out within the first round or two. So usually for me, it's all about the cardio and lots of heavy bag hitting just to get the lungs full of oxygen. So that's kind of the route that I will take. I'll just try and get my body conditioned that it's got to kind of keep going. There's got to be a lot of gas in the tank. Once I've got that kind of dialed in, then it's just making sure that the diet is on point. Lots of protein, obviously still putting in the carbs and things like that to obviously give the body the fuel, then the protein to repair the muscles afterwards. And it's a combination of those. Then you kind of just juggling the two, and it's nice that eventually you see it and then you kind of look in the mirror and obviously you're getting that sort of fighter's toned physique, so you know something's working. Come the day of the fight, adrenaline's running, step into the cage or the ring, adrenaline's pumping, those rounds go like that. So all that training that you've put in lasts, minutes realistically.
Yeah.
And then that kind of that's really it. But yeah, for me, it's all about making sure that my body can handle the exercise, if you like, that it's going through. And then I'll get the diet dialed in, and yeah, then we just kind of play around with the two, and you just find that happy medium then, because you're eating enough to sustain the body and you've got enough to kind of produce what you need to at the end.
Yeah. But can you break down? So how did you start off the training with each day? Was it like a 10-mile run, then 10 rounds on the bag, or was it like that, or something similar to it?
Yeah, well, the first probably half an hour, usually a day, is like step into the gym, and then it's half an hour, 45 minutes of just skipping. So just keep doing that to really, really warm up the body, warm up the muscles, get the lungs pumping. After that, then it's probably about 4 to 5 rounds of just shadow boxing. So
Okay.
start working on that. And then after that, it will either be one or the other. It's never an exception to the rule as such, but let's say I'll have my trainer there, then we'll start hitting pads and start working combinations, and a few sort of little sort of things that we're going to maybe add into the fight. So start working that. That's generally 3 to 5 rounds of that. After that, then it would just be heavy bags and just hitting heavy bags, to still sort of keep the lungs sort of pumping. And then it would alternate between the two. So whether it would be hit pads, then bags, or it'd be the other way around. Then afterwards, then it's literally a combination of just keep doing those, and then at the end it's a very light cool down. So lots of stretching of the body, lots of sort of like high intensity training as well. So you'll probably run on the spot for 30 seconds, then really cool down, and then afterwards some nice stretching and some nice like yoga moves and stuff, just to kind of keep all the muscles and the body supple. And that's really a training day for me personally. Anyway, when I'm training, that's how we will start and end the day. So there's loads of, and then we just kind of mix it up between the two. Maybe the following day it's all about just using hands. The next day, then it's probably about legs, and then adding the two in again, and then stuff like that. So if you want to stay and use your hands, great. If you want to use the feet as well, great. So that's kind of how my training goes, at least.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, but do you still train like a fighter even now that you're not competing?
Yeah, not as much, but in terms of kind of like the diary of a day, if you like, in terms of what I'm going to do, yeah, it still works. I'll probably do sort of 10-15 minutes of skipping, maybe 1 or 2 rounds of shadow boxing. And then I have a thing, and what probably a lot of other people do as well. We call it Dutch drills. So all it is just combinations. So you got yourself and so your training partner, and then you'll throw a combination on them, and then they'll throw a combination on you, and then just it keeps alternating. So it's just backwards and forwards, but it's all in real time. So they will throw their combination, and as soon as they're finished, then you will answer back with yours. So it's not kind of they do it and then you kind of wait and ponder what you're going to do. It's just backwards and forwards like that to keep it fresh, and it's very real time, and that generally lasts for about 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, so a good round if you like. It's very surprising how much that takes out of you as well, both mentally and physically. But yeah, my training, yeah, pretty much still stays the same, but it's just diluted down now. It's not as much in terms of in the sense of competing.
Oh yeah, yeah. And because I remember one thing, another question is when you got married. Congratulations again on that.
Thank you.
And when you went on your honeymoon, you went over to Thailand.
Yeah.
And I remember this picture you once put up there. It was an absolute epic picture when you said, "I finally ticked this off my bucket list," which was training at the legendary Yakoe camp.
Yakao, yeah.
Yakao camp, yeah, and in Thailand. And what
Yeah.
was it like training there? Because obviously Muay Thai originated from Thailand. But
Yeah.
what's it like training a sport in the country it originated in? Because it's always such an interesting fact. It's like learning capoeira in Brazil, learning kung fu in China, learning traditional karate in Japan. But what's it like learning Muay Thai in Thailand itself?
It's a very humbling experience, to say the least,
That's
because
good.
you think you have a level of fitness
Yeah,
and proficiency. So you come in there and then you think, okay, well, I've trained X amount of time and I know these moves. Once you start training with the Thais, I like to think that's when you learn Muay Thai.
yeah,
Um, because for one, the heat. I mean, it's obviously incredibly hot there, and very humid as well. So that
yeah.
hits you sort of straight off the bat. But then you're training for like an hour, 2 hours. You start warming up, very light exercises, perhaps running around the mat and stuff like that, or a little bit of shadow boxing. You're already dripping in sweat, so you've got that, and you haven't even thrown a punch or a kick. Um, but to actually train with Thai fighters for me was absolutely incredible. It was just another world because it's their national sport. There's no
Yeah.
football or cricket or rugby or anything. It is Muay Thai. So if you think about it, every Thai person it is literally a trained fighter.
Wow.
But the people over there are some of the, or I've got to put it on record, are perhaps the nicest people I have ever met. So humble, so happy with what they have, so grateful for what they have. Um, so it's weird to think that this lovely person could actually sort of whip your ass at a moment's notice. Um, and the way that they train is it's very I say repetitive. It's continuous training in such as sort of like working a bag. It's just constant. Whereas we probably will train perhaps for a round, if you like, say for 3 to 5 minutes, then you start to have a breather. They kind of just carry on. So when they've worked on one thing, then they just move on to something else, and then they'll start working on that. And then when they've done that, they'll perhaps move and start sort of catching kicks or sweeps and stuff like it. It's constant. It just never ends. So for me, that was the one thing that I thought, this is incredible. Like these guys, they are machines. They can just keep going and going. And all of them are literally, they look like Greek gods. They just look like they're carved out of wood. It's
Yeah.
amazing. So to have the opportunity to train with them, like you say, if you were learning kung fu and you were going abroad to the Orient and stuff like that, capoeira in Brazil, whatever it is, to go to the home of Muay Thai and train, it was amazing. As I say, probably the word I would use is humbling, because you think you know it all, but then you don't.
Oh yeah, that's a big bold statement to make. That's a good one. That's good. And you also, I remember on the night when we were booking this interview, and you told me to research the legendary fighter name known as Senchai. I
Sanchai,
looked at Senchai. I looked at his training regime yesterday, and I was like, "What is this?"
exactly.
That
Yeah,
guy, he's a bit more of a southpaw fighter, isn't he?
he is. Yeah, he's a southpaw. Yeah,
He's a southpaw, and like his legs were just like the way he was kicking the bag, and it's like he was denting it. And I was like,
yeah,
imagine this guy can dent a bag. Imagine what he could do to somebody's ribs. One shot, it's over.
yeah. And that guy pre-pandemic was like he was pretty much like a fight every week, as I say, because it's their national sport, and he's probably, in terms of the sport, he's up there. He's like the poster boy, poster man of the sport, if you like. Everybody knows who he is in Thailand, and he's taking fights constantly, and he's no spring chicken either. You know, I'm not sure how old he is. I want to say he's into his 40s at least, and he was still taking fights. But yeah, it goes to show that for them, that because when you're there, kind of every other street, if you like, or on a corner, there's a Muay Thai gym, and it's either a purpose-built Muay Thai gym, or it's kind of like somebody's backyard
Oh yeah,
with car tires hanging and a homemade ring, and stuff like that. So that they're all aware of, obviously, Muay Thai and training and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, and I say, getting back to the point where they just keep going and going. To throw leg kicks constantly is a toll on the body when you're just training anyway. Um, so to continuously keep doing a move like that, it is incredible. And they'll do it for hours on end, from one leg to another, then they'll work something else. I had the opportunity to train at a couple of other gyms while I was there, and honestly, I was just gassed at after a fraction of the time that I would be in this country,
oh yeah,
because the way they do it is a whole new ball game. But it's something that I think, for me, Muay Thai and other people that love that sport and train in it, when you get the opportunity, if when, highly recommend hop over to anywhere in Thailand and train with them to see how they do it, because it gives you a completely new viewpoint on the whole sport, and it gives you a much more respect for it as well.